Legacy is creating something bigger than life, bigger than you are.
I'm Swadi Martin. I'm the founder and CEO of the Swadi Group, which is a group today comprising of two brands, Iswara and Akrafo. Iswara is an artisan tea and tea time company, and Akrafo is what I call a wellness gourmet Afro-épicerie. I've lived in about 10 countries, and so really my upbringing and I would say my overall life has been very much one of a nomad. And I've lived in Africa, in Europe, in America, studied in Switzerland and the UK and France and Côte d'Ivoire. Used to work for General Electric and moved probably about every 2 years in a new country and continent. I wanted to start with a commodity that I know well and I'm very passionate about. And I've always loved tea. I come from a family where we've drank good teas at home since I was a child. Was very fortunate to visit tea plantations. So it was quite obvious for me that I should start with something I know. There was also an opportunity in the sense that Africa is actually the largest exporter of tea in the world, and this is a fact that is not so well known. And I always thought a little bit, I would say, unfair in a way that we had these amazing teas on the continent, but everyone is really talking about Asian teas. So I wanted to bring this contribution. And that's really what started Iswara, but really as part of a bigger vision to be able to transform well sought after African commodities locally. What we're hoping also to do is to share the beauty of African history and culture as well. And in creating the teas, I actually always start with a story that inspires me, and we can talk about Hatshepsut because this is one of my favorite stories. I just found it so fascinating that you had this woman who actually was a pharaoh and used to dress in pharaoh attire in her days. And this was almost, I would say, scandalous. And it was, she was an innovator, she was breaking all the rules of society, and she was an amazing leader. And these are stories that we don't know. And growing up in Africa, I found that I knew more about European history, American history than African history. And this was also an opportunity for us to share again these beautiful stories that they are not myth, they're actually facts and part of our own heritage that we need to, I would say, reappropriate, really. We were in key African cities like Lagos, Nairobi, Abidjan. Today you can also find us in Sierra Leone, in Zambia, in Mauritius, and we're continuing to expand in Africa. Then I would say, after we had established a first footstep in Africa, we expanded outside of the continent. And today you can find us at Selfridges in the UK, for example. We're also very busy with the UAE. You can find us also in Lebanon, in Beirut, and in other places generally. Well, I mean, we have to go back to really what the Swadi Group is. I'm very passionate about African commodities, very passionate about making a difference in Africa, and also what could be my contribution. I love nature in general. I'm welcoming you today in our factory located in the cradle of humankind. We're literally in the middle of a field, so it's really bringing all these passions together and thinking, how can we actually transform African commodities locally and making them into a high value added product that could be appealing to a global audience, but also to a local audience because it's culturally relevant. First of all, in building a luxury brand or a premium brand, it starts with what does it take to build anything? And my companies are still baby companies, and I'm nowhere to be an iconic, successful entrepreneur. You know, it's really just, I'm still at the beginning of the journey. But I would say what I can see in that little journey so far is you need to be strong. You need to be strong because being an entrepreneur or building anything is extremely challenging. You have challenges every single day. I think you need to have an optimism that cannot be defeated, because you need to have that level of energy and optimism that it's going to happen despite all the challenges, and also looking at the glass always half full versus half empty. Well, I'm a Roman Catholic, so the Bible definitely is my book. I would say, I mean, it has everything. So it's a great, and I would say whether, and I actually, this is the way I would say, in a way I see it as a book. It doesn't matter if actually for me the Bible is real or not. It actually is fully irrelevant. What I find is in reading it, it just gives me food for thought just to try to lead a better life. And the validity of everything, or the reality of everything behind, is not really what matters, but it's just the fruits, I would say, of the reading and the thinking. A favorite scripture? Yes, I do. I'm not very good at remembering the exact words, but because I also read in French. But there is a scripture that actually says that if birds always, in a way, if birds always have food, we human beings, why should we worry? And I think that's, for me, is a very good scripture, because I think sometimes we live with too much fear of what is going to happen. Am I going to be able to do that? Is this going to happen? And I think fear actually cripples life, and in very different aspects. I think it poisons relationships, it cripples yourself, and it actually just creates barriers. And at an extreme, it just, I think, makes life, very close in a way. And I really try to live my life, according to that scripture, is that I really do not worry. I'm not worrying about tomorrow. Each day will take care of itself. You don't even want to know what I was thinking. The first thing that I thought, I want Africans to know that they're the greatest people on earth. No, but I think I want really Africans to know that nothing is impossible, and I think we need to benchmark ourselves to the best. We've demonstrated as Africans that we can actually help the world be a better place. There is no global company anywhere in the world, no place in the world where you don't find Africans, and you find Africans actually bringing valuable contribution, sometimes game-changing contributions. And I think even when we're in those environments that are a little bit more developed, maybe it's a bit easier, but I think when we are back on our continent where it is more challenging, I don't think it takes anything away from that. We can be great, and I think we should not settle for less than greatness as a continent and as countries. And I wish our leaders had more vision, more ambition for what it is that we can achieve, and just not settle for mediocrity, because there's no reason Africa should be where it is today, because we have the people and we have the soul. I think Africa is soulful. There's just something really strong in every African, and we just need to have that confidence that we can be great. A lot of the times people come to me and say, wow, you followed your passion in building Swara, Acrofo, the Swadi group. And actually my response to that is I was living my passion before. So I've never left one passion for another. I'm just living my life with different passions. And I think that's what makes it fulfilling.